wanted to do a first impression kind of review on my new Robo3d R1 Plus. It's the newest version out there of the Robo3d, and you know, it seems like they worked out some of the issues I've been reading about the older ones. This is the only 3D printer I've owned, but it seemed like it's a good model. Got a lot of things going for it. You know, a lot of the reviews that I read was that this was a 3D printer that, you know, if you don't mind getting under the hood a little bit, it works well. I'd have to kind of, you know, agree with a lot of what people have said along those lines. This is a printer that, you know, it's not going to be, you know, like the iPhone of 3D printers, where it's just so simple that, you know, my mom could use it. No offense, Mom. But, you know, it takes a little bit of know-how, a little technical knowledge. You know, when I first got it, plugged it in, set it up, it didn't work right out of the box. It was printing about 5 inches off the screen, off the bed. I just wanted to comment on that for a moment. I called tech support. They kind of led me in the right direction, but not really. You know, it was, English was this guy's first language. Very friendly guy, nice, but you know, he was saying I have to move some bolts around. Actually, all I ended up having to do for that, if you had the same problem too, is just turning that rod, the Z rod, the Z-axis rod, on one side, because you want it to really be even. That's what it essentially was, that they were not even, even though it really looked even. But when the print head was on the left-hand side, it caused it to go up, and on this side it was registering as not being on, you know, there's a little button that gets pressed by weight, and it wasn't being depressed, so it was thinking, oh, you know, the button wasn't being pressed, so it was thinking that it was on the print bed, but of course it wasn't. So that kind of messed that up. But you know, a half hour later or so, I was back in business, and you know, did some really nice prints on it. Looking like the quality is good. I had issues with it actually sticking too well to the print bed. The first print I did, I used a hot glue stick, and boy, was that thing on there solid. Even when it got to room temperature, I actually had to take it outside, and it's really cold out right now, so it brought the temperature down, and I was able to get it that way. So if you got the same problem, try getting it cold. If you live in a cold area, put it outside. You may even have to disassemble the print bed and stick it in the freezer if you're really desperate. So then I tried not using glue stick, and it went pretty well, just putting it right on the bed, but then I was having some adhesion issues. So now I'm using the blue painter's tape. Seems to be working okay. We'll see how that goes right now. Other issues was with the filament getting stuck in the hot end. That's happened a couple of times now. The first time it happened, I didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, I could look down in there and see the filament way in there. And I tried feeding the filament through a few times, and it wasn't pushing it down in. So I started taking this apart. Took the case off, and actually the case comes off fairly easy compared to, I think, previous models. All you do is there's the 4 screws on the corners, and then there's a zip tie right here that you got to remove, and then the case is off. I had the printer taken, you know, the print head taken off, and I was trying everything. I called tech support, you know, after it was all taken apart, and he sent me a file that, you know, was so happy, or so work. He suggested that I put the print head upside down and let it, you know, ooze out, and that didn't work at all. He suggested using a guitar string to insert that through the bottom and up there. Now I got a speaker wire, and I tore that apart. I took the little copper strings, you know, that actually is the right size to go into the extruder, that didn't do anything either. Eventually, what did it was that I just took a piece of filament and just kept going, and I tried, maybe 20, 30, 40 times to push the filament in, and finally, eventually, when the print head was hot, I hit it just right, and I was able to push the filament through and get it started and get going. So I didn't need to take it all apart. I mean, that's essentially what it came down to. I was only about 10 minutes into it. But one thing I did find out that's a little disconcerting is that there's supposedly a quick release mechanism where there's one screw here underneath, and then you can slide the plastic over and separate, this half from the top from the bottom half. When I went to unscrew that screw, the nut is in a recess, a plastic recess, and it stripped that recess. So now I'm dealing, and it's in a very hard to reach location, the nut is. So now I'm dealing with that, and if I ever really do need to take this thing apart, I think I'm going to be in big trouble. And that basically came out of the box that way. So, it was some lock nuts, with plastic washers or built-in lock nuts, and those were in there really too hard. It stripped the recess. So, I'm okay. I didn't need to take it apart, but if I ever do, I might be in trouble. And then one time the filament broke off in there too, and once again, I did take the thing apart just to get a better angle at it. And once again, I really didn't need to do that. It was just a matter of just forcing the filament through, getting the printer hot, and just shoving that through. I don't know. Eventually, just whatever it was, it finally went through. So far, that's my biggest gripe with the Robo3d is the filament issues. Changing the filament's not super easy. I think I've gotten the hang of it now. There is a spring, and you got to hold the spring back, put the filament in. It's easy enough to remove that spring. That's actually only takes a second to do that. But so far, I've been really happy with the quality of the prints. It's a lot of fun. I mean, for me, like I said, it's my first printer. So a lot of it's just, oh wow, this is neat to be in the 3D printing world. But it does really make nice prints. Kids have been having a lot of fun. It's fun to watch. Working on a Luther's seal right now. Found that on Thingiverse. It's pretty cool. So otherwise, I'm gonna, give this thing like 4 out of 5 stars, I guess, because it is a really nice printer, and it depends on who you are. If you're someone that doesn't want to mess with that kind of stuff, then I would have to, give it even like a 3 stars. If you're a person, and I think most people that buy a 3D printer probably are a little techie, then I would give it a 5-star, I guess, because that's just part of it, is you have to be willing to take things apart and get at it, and that's half the fun, I guess, in some ways. So, really happy with the printer. I like when the Z-axis way they do it, that seems to make sense as to the old way. That taking the case off is easier because there's no Z-axis things. It actually is built right into the case as you drop it down in there. Yeah, I think that was most things I wanted to cover. Maybe, a few tips there if you're running into that, because, I looked this up too. There's really nothing online for the Plus as to how to fix jams and clogs and, those kinds of issues. So I feel a little bit like there's not a lot of information out there. There is a 24/7, which is customer service, which does a good job. So I'd recommend that. I guess when you go with this printer, you're not going to be left high and dry. So, yeah, definitely I recommend this particular printer. Been enjoying it. Okay, I think I'm gonna record the rest of this print job and I will speed it up from here. Well, this is playing. You know, if you're interested in just watching a 3D printer do its job, go ahead and keep watching. Another comment to make on this was that the offset seems to be not quite right. It was pushing it too far down, and there was a bit of a smudge kind of look to the print. You know, recording this after this rose printed, and it required quite a bit of trimming around the edges to get it to be right. So I changed the offset, the initial offset, to I think 0.4 millimeters since this print, and that seems to be helping. You know, I think these 3D printers, they're a lot of fun. They take a lot of, you gotta customize it, get it honed down. And of course the new R1 Plus is no different. I'm just putting these out here, sharing this with you because, well, you know, maybe if you're watching this, you just got an R1 Plus. This will help you. For the experienced person, this video, I'm sure, doesn't offer much. Okay, and there you go. There you have it. It is just finishing up. And thanks for watching my video. Check out my other ones if you want.